Hi, this is Tony Kobza, and I am recording my assignment for Chapter 11, where we talk about tracking students and our feelings towards that, pros and cons. Um, I looked at this in a couple different ways. Number one, I looked at it as a teacher, and number two, I looked at it as a parent. As a teacher, I believe that tracking is a really useful and powerful tool, as I have classes where I teach both honors levels classes as well as traditional classes, and then I have classes where honor students and traditional students are in class together. One of the things that I notice when I have students that are in an honors class, um, we're able to push the limits a little bit, push those kids to do some things that maybe we wouldn't be able to get to, or would be a little bit more distracting to the entire class if they were all together. Um, as we look at students that are traditional students, sometimes they can get frustrated, and those students can lose some of their confidence, because as they get their projects or as they work next to students that maybe are working at a very high level, those students maybe aren't as willing to share their ideas. They aren't as willing to raise their hand and answer questions. They lean on the other students, the honor students, the high performing students. They lean on them in order to answer the questions and to kind of take the lead in the classroom. And I think having tracking where you allow those students to be in a class that's more their level, um, they have more confidence, they have more desire to maybe step out of the box, and even if they don't have the desire, they're almost forced to, because they don't have that crutch to lean on of a student who is a high performing student. In my other class I teach accounting, and I have an honors accounting as well as a traditional accounting, and they work together. It's very difficult for me as a teacher as well as the students to be able to get everything accomplished that we want, and to have the students working at a pace where one of them isn't bored. Whether it is a student who's a high performing student who is maybe challenged with additional assignments because they're doing so well. If you don't challenge them with that, they get bored because they're done with the assignments quickly. If you do challenge them, it's almost a punishment to them, because they are now having to do additional work. And sometimes just because they're a high performing student doesn't mean that they are a hard working student, but maybe it just comes easy to them. And so as those high performing students are not challenged, they find other things to do. They find different activities in the classroom, or they just don't work on the extra projects that you have them do. Some of them do take the lead on that, and some of them do put the extra work in. But the better they do, the farther ahead they get of the other students, and the bigger gap it creates. And on the flip side, you have the students who are not the honor students, and they can get frustrated because they see that the other students are doing well, um, and they will then fall farther behind. They may not want to ask questions. They may lose some of the desire to even really try in the classroom. So those are things that just a couple little things that I noticed and I looked at when I reflected back on my own teaching. And as I start to transition from being a teacher to the next portion of this, is where my son, he's going to be a junior in high school this year. And when he was in elementary school, we had a meeting with his teacher, and my son was having a lot of trouble. He wasn't focusing, he wasn't completing his homework, he wasn't doing a lot of the tasks. And I'll be honest with you, as a teacher, I had an idea of what gifted students dealt with. I had an idea of what some of the challenges were. But as a parent, I finally got to see it from both sides. I saw it not only in the classroom, but I also saw it at home and with my son. So as I looked at those challenges and those benefits, he really benefited then from the teacher finding other alternatives, other options for him to be involved in. Well, he was involved in another class. He was able to go outside of his own classroom. He was able to do some of the things he enjoyed. And what we found was he really was bored by the homework, by the assignments, the reading. He was reading at a higher level, and so he didn't enjoy the reading because it didn't challenge him. Now, my expectation as a parent and as a teacher is, even if you're bored, you still need to work hard, you still need to go through that, but his mind wasn't working that way. And so we've had a big challenge of trying to make sure that we approached those things, found different avenues for him to work hard and to still be able to challenge himself with whatever classroom he might be in. As he's gotten older, we haven't seen as much of a difference. He is more of a traditional student now, and he's had success in academics, and he doesn't show that boredom as much anymore. And I think it's because the classes he's able to take in high school match up a little bit more with his interest and what he enjoys. One of the things I appreciated that the teacher did do in his elementary was they found activities for him to do, whether it was cleaning up or putting things away or picking up the papers. They found things to keep him active and to keep him involved so that he did enjoy things. But I look at that helped my son, but how many other students in that classroom would have appreciated the opportunity to do those things? And it made it very challenging for that teacher, I'm sure, to be able to keep track of those things. And I appreciated that. And I don't think that there was much difference that we could have done from what we did do to make sure my son was challenged as much as possible. But I look at, as a teacher, what am I offering those parents? And if a student is falling back or not exceeding as much as they could because of other students in the classroom, I would want that student to really be challenged to be their personal best. And I'll close with this. The number one thing that I expect in my classroom is for students to reach their full potential and to give as much effort as they can. That's what the expectations are, and that's what we strive for every day. It doesn't happen every day, but that's what our expectation is, and that's what we strive for. So as I look at those ideas, it doesn't matter what level a student is learning at. It doesn't matter what class label they may have. If we're able to help students achieve at the highest point, that's the whole idea of education, is to help students achieve at a high level. There's no judgments. There's no feeling of inferiority because you're in this class or this class based on your honors level or not. Every time you walk in the classroom, the best is expected of you. And if you're with students that maybe make you feel more confident because you feel more on their level, I think that is a great opportunity for you to grow even more. And I do believe that when you mix students together with such drastic differences in learning abilities, it can really hurt both more than it can help to have them together.